Hey. I shook her harder. No effect. At that moment I wanted to cry. Why does this always happen to me? Why do I get caught up in these foolish situations always and everywhere? Even having suddenly appeared in a weird pioneer camp in the middle of nowhere, I don't get to become a subject in an experiment, a victim of a sick cosmic mind, or a participant in an intergalactic war on the side of a group of suicide-prone pacifists, like a regular hero of science fiction. No, instead I have to spend the night in a forest with a little girl in my arms who is muffled in a bedsheet. Next time, I'd rather have the monstrous experiments. I stood up and put the sleeping Ulyana on my back. Maybe there was a way to wake her up, but firstly I didn't want to, and secondly, one more burden or one less at that point has made no difference. It's good that she's not heavy. At the square I stopped, put Ulyana on a bench and threw myself down beside her, totally exhausted. Even a little girl is hard to carry for too long. The stars in the sky were shining brightly. Perhaps they give their light not only to me in this camp, but also shine on the city where I was born and where my old home is. It was as if a pain settled in my chest. I envisioned my old flat clearly, and a detestable burning started to make its way from my stomach to my throat. No, it was not wistfulness. More like a sad reminiscence. Because despite all that's happened, I've felt more alive in less than 5 days. Less than 5 days here than I had for the last several years there. And now I really wasn't sure if I wanted to get back. Only one question still ate at me, how and why I ended up here. It flared up yet again in my mind. I haven't spent much time seeking answers or even just thinking about my situation lately. My thoughts were occupied with everyday routine affairs. And now in order to break away and be able to wish to stay here for good, I need to understand the nature of this place. It's just that even a nightingale in a golden cage has a right to know how and by whose will he got in there, and after that to make the choice whether to stay or not. I don't know how much longer I would have been devoted to existential thoughts, but Ulyana's loud snoring brought me back to reality. So small, but she snores so loudly. I sighed, put Ulyana on my back again, and headed to her cabin. I had no desire to explain everything to Alyssa, so I just put the sleeping Ulyana on the porch, knocked on the door, and left quickly. I approached Olga Dimitrina's cabin with mixed feelings. On the one hand, I had done what I intended to do. I had comforted and entertained Ulyana. On the other hand, the 2 crumpled bedsheets in my hands looked more like rags left over from some worn-out straitjacket. I opened the door softly and went in. Semyon! Olga Dimitrina was sitting at the desk, and it seemed she had been waiting for me. Do you want to explain something to me? Well, just don't scold her again. It's my fault. Just like that, I became a hero to my own surprise. My tongue acted faster than my thoughts. Perhaps some of my best traits, which even I wasn't aware of, have shown themselves. Humanity as opposed to common sense. Really. Having started this, I chose to stick to my decision. Well, it was me who got the bed sheets, and I was standing behind a tree back then. Behind what tree? The camp leader looked at me in astonishment. So what did you need bed sheets for? I realized my mistake. So, you're not talking about the forest thing? Semyon, I don't understand you. I wanted to know where you disappeared to so mysteriously during the hike, but now I would be interested in listening to your bedsheet story. But it was impossible that she and all the others hadn't seen Ulyana's performance. The pioneers laughing out loud could have been only my imagination. Olga Dimitrina, I'm serious. Didn't you see someone in a bedsheet spring out at you recently? So it was you. She gave me a close look. No, it wasn't me. Couldn't she tell just from my height? But you're holding the bed sheets. Yeah. I couldn't understand if she was playing me for a fool or she really didn't know what this was all about. Olga Dimitrievna, let's act like this conversation never happened. I'm too tired for today. Anyway, here's the dirty bed sheets. I'm going to sleep. Alright, go to bed. To my surprise, she readily agreed. What? Of course, I was astonished by such a reaction, but I decided to use the moment. I wrapped the blanket around myself and turned to face the wall. But I couldn't sleep. There were no thoughts. My head was aching, but I still couldn't manage to fall asleep. I rolled to the other side, and images of the day started to flash before my eyes. I shut my eyes tight to drive them away, but it didn't work. Suddenly, I heard knocking at the window. Olga Dimitrievna seemed to be asleep. I dressed myself and walked outside. Ulyana was standing before me with a tricky smile.
How did you manage to carry me to the cabin? Wasn't it hard?
Not really. What have you come for? I couldn't sleep, but at the moment, bed seemed to be the only place where I could reside with no suffering, which is why Ulyana's sudden visit didn't please me at all.
How was she? Did you get scolded?
No, I avoided it somehow.
That's great then. I always get lucky.
That's for sure. My eyes began closing despite my will. It seems that slumber has finally come upon me. Look, I'm very tired.
This won't take long. Close your eyes.
It was the easiest thing to do, and I didn't even want to know what she needed it for. Maybe that way she would leave me alone sooner, and then he just passes out. I closed my eyes. And in that moment I felt a brief kiss. So creepy looking at Semyon and his no eyes. My eyes opened by themselves, but Ulyana was already running away, waving her hand to me. I stood still, benumbed, and I couldn't even manage to shout anything after her. I don't know for how long I stood like that, but eventually the night chill cleared my stupor. I shivered and went back to bed. This time I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to think it all through, but my eyes, which had begun to close as I was standing before Ulyana, seemed to issue a command to the rest of the body, and I fell asleep before I realized what happened. I can't say my morning was good. Instead, I woke up absolutely broken. The room was filled with a bright sunlight. Outside the window, birds were light-heartedly chirping. I reluctantly dragged myself into a sitting position and stretched. I slowly started to recall the events of the previous day. A trip, a silly ghost game, Ulyana falling asleep, and... a kiss. I blushed immediately. When I first started this, and knew that Ulyana was a route, Semyon was absolutely gonna be arrested. Don't even know why Ulyana is a route to begin with. It was so surprising that I'd been knocked out of reality for a while. The main problem is how should I treat her now? At first glance, nothing special had happened, but... besides, she's the last girl in the whole camp from which one would expect such actions. She seems to me, at best, to be a little sister, nothing more. But for her, apparently, I was more than a big brother. I don't know why, like, a little kiss on the cheek would be that would lead to that thought process. Also, why is the music so soft? I thought I turned it up. Because sometimes it would be pretty loud. And then other times it's so soft, I think that's just how it's supposed to be, so I don't question it. But for her, apparently I was more than a big brother. Though perhaps I just imagined all that and there was no hidden meaning, deep motives, or allusions to far-reaching conclusions in this kiss. Yeah. Just an expression of gratitude. Ulyana is definitely capable of extraordinary deeds, and could easily turn simple things into complicated ones. Finally, I decided to put off the matter till the time I could meet her face to face. The clock showed 11, meaning Olga Dmitrievna didn't wake me up for breakfast. However, I shouldn't worry. There wasn't much time left till lunch. I took my bag of washing accessories and went to do my water procedures. Such a weird way to say it. I didn't meet anybody on the way. Probably all the pioneers are busy with their own things. The place near the basins was deserted too. Just 5 minutes later, I again stood in front of the camp leader's cabin thinking of what to do next. Nothing worthwhile having come to my head, I sat in the deck chair and possibly could have stayed there until lunch, but I was drawn from my trance by a familiar voice. Hi. I looked up and saw Slavia, who was smiling at me sweetly. Hi. You overslept again? Seems like it. That's no good. Perhaps, and where are you going? Actually, I was not really interested in Slavia's agenda for today, but I wanted to keep the conversation going. Well, I've got things to do. I see. Silence followed. She was about to leave when suddenly I said, Mind sitting with me for a while? Sure, why not? Slavia sat nearby. Something's worrying you, isn't it? No, why do you think so? I can read it on your face. She laughed softly. Oh, really? Although probably Slavia was right, something really was worrying me. Obviously, I worried about last night's events. Listen, do you have any little brothers or sisters? I do. And how do you get along? Pretty well. She smiled widely. And you? No, I don't. I said after a short pause. So why are you asking? I don't know, just... Do you always understand them? I try to. Sometimes I just cannot make out what children want. Suddenly I stopped for a moment. Slavia doesn't know that I'm actually much older than I look. 400 years old. To her, I'm still a child myself. Those who are younger? Why? Well, I can't always understand the motivations of their actions. They often behave illogically. Weren't you as old as them some time ago? She looked at me with surprise. Of course I was. At that moment it seemed to me that it had been a very long time ago. And when I look at Ulyana, that time turned into a gulf of years. Well, think of yourself at that time. I was different. At least it seemed like that to me. If so, good for you. Slavia laughed again. And you? Did you always do stupid things? It depends on what age we're talking about. Well, let's say the age of 14, for instance. Well, different things were happening, she said thoughtfully. Okay, that's nice, but it still doesn't make anything clear. Maybe that's the way it should be. Maybe. Slavia stood up, wished me goodbye, and left. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. The sound of the bell calling the pioneers for lunch woke me up. Although the sound was quiet and coming from far away, my body worked like a clockwork automaton, and in due time I was standing near the doors of the canteen. and that's where I met Ulyana.
Hi there.
Huh? Yeah.
I already ate.
She laughed brightly and ran away. I didn't stop her. After all, I had nothing to say to her. I took a meal and was already heading to my favorite place in the corner when suddenly someone grabbed me by the hand. Sit down right here. I don't remember how Alyssa's voice is. Alyssa's voice sounded menacing, but at the same time somehow pleading. I remember that it slightly borders Olga's. I almost couldn't remember what Olga's name was. I was replacing the L with a G in my head, and it was gonna be Olga or something. What happened? I've got something to discuss with you, she said with a slightly softer tone. Okay. I sat down next to her. So what's the subject? You were there yesterday, when she played that dumb prank with the bedsheet. It was pointless to lie to Alyssa. Yeah, I was there. That's... She laughed out loud. Why on earth did you do that? Alyssa instantly became serious and gave me a level look. Why don't you ask her? No, I'm asking you now, so you have to talk. I don't know, I rasped. Or you better tell me, why didn't the camp leader react? How should she react? I think you know. I looked at her skeptically. Well, she just did not realize who it was. Well, I must admit, Olga Dimitrina's deductive abilities leave much to be desired. And then, it was you who brought her back last night. Nope, Shakespearean elves did that, I said mockingly. What's the problem with that? No problem at all. Alyssa stared at her plate and started to eat with concentration. Also, she ran off to somewhere during the night and came back in that happy mood. And? Don't you know anything about that? Even if I do, why do you care? She gave me an intense gaze. Well, I do care. I would have never thought that she could be concerned about someone besides herself. Nothing like that happened if you'd like to know. No, it's not about that, Alyssa replied shortly without looking at me. Probably it was a bad idea to bring up this subject. By the way, what's that like that? What do you mean? What you just said. You just implied something, mister. What's that I just said? I tried to joke around to confuse her. Hey, listen to me. I'm watching you. Oh, I'm so scared, I said roughly, took my tray and left the table. I definitely wasn't afraid of Alyssa's words, even though they sounded like a threat. In fact, I was more interested by her concern for Ulyana. Of all the local inhabitants, she was surely the last one you would expect to worry about another person. I walked out of the canteen and into a real furnace. The sun blazed so ruthlessly that nobody would stay under his scorching rays. It was time to find some cool and shady place. And the beach seemed like the best place for this. Oddly enough, the beach was not crowded. Perhaps most of the pioneers were scared of the scorching heat, or maybe they just decided to take a nap after lunch. I didn't bring my swimming trunk, so I just sat under an umbrella and began to watch the swimmers. There was no one I knew, and it was better that way, as I had an opportunity to sit quietly and think. 5.5 days have already passed since my arrival, and what has changed? There were a couple of unexplained but completely harmless events, but all in all, it was just a regular pioneer camp. And this was making me even more frightened. What's going to happen next? Another day, another week, and what's going to happen after the session's over? I've got nowhere to return to. Maybe in this time I haven't been born yet. Or even worse. After thinking all this over for a few minutes, I went back to yesterday evening. Strange, but I worried about it much more than before. On the one hand, I wanted to say something to make the situation clear, but on the other hand, I avoided any meeting with Ulyana by all means, afraid of making a fool of myself with a wrong word or gesture. I closed my eyes and dozed off for a while. Lena in a swimsuit. When I woke up, I saw Lena by my side. "How long have you been sitting there?" I asked in surprise.
"Not too long."
Strange that she did not wake me up. Did something happen? I don't know why, but my sixth sense was telling me that she's eager to say something, but doesn't dare.
"No. What about you?"
Neither.
"Are you sure?"
Of course. I smiled.
"Then what do you want to talk about?"
Why would you think I want to talk?
"It seems like it."
No, not really. A long silence ensued. Do you have any little brothers or sisters?
"No. What about you?"
I don't.
"So why would you ask that?"
Sometimes I think that I don't understand children at all.
"Me too.
Lena's face didn't express anything.
But it's probably got to be like that."
What do you mean? How should I treat them then?
"Treat them the way you think is right."
Well, that's the whole idea. I don't know what is right and what is wrong.
"The more you think about it, the more you'll regret the mistake."
Well, that's true, but it doesn't help. I was somewhat surprised by such profound words from Lena. Of course she said all that with a trace of shyness or modesty, and without inappropriate openness, but still. You mean that I should follow the first idea I get off the top of my head? I laughed.
"As the saying goes, your first thought is the right one."
Do you believe that?
I don't know. I mean...
We sat there for some time, then she stood up.
Well, I've got to go.
Thanks for the conversation.
Don't mention it.
Lena smiled faintly. I lay down and stared at the burning sun. Your first thought is right, huh? And what if my first thought was to kiss her back? Semyon, you know I have the police siren sound effect. Like, right in my hands. And just because you don't have siblings doesn't mean you shouldn't know how to treat someone who is younger than you. You're like 4,000 years old in comparison, but just because you're in a younger body does not change the fact that you are a grown-ass man. So, I'm gonna need you to stop. Like right now. I'm gonna need you to cease and desist. Because I'm so ready to just scream. I'm so upset with you, Semyon. I'm so disappointed. By the way, what was the first thought that came to me at that time? I tried painfully hard to remember, but nothing worked. Not even scraps of thoughts surfaced in my brain. However, in that situation I could only follow Lena's advice since it all happened so suddenly. The sun was setting slowly, so I rose and went towards the canteen, as my stomach told me that even the participants in such a fantastic story should have regular meals. Somebody called me at the square. It was electronic. He ran up to me, caught his breath, and said, "Semyon." Yeah, that's probably me. Take it. He handed me some kind of key. What's this? It's the key to our clubhouse. And why would I want it? Olga Dmitrievna asked me to, considering that I'll not be returning there today. So give it to Shurik. He has his own business. So take it yourself. I can't. Why not? Listen, just take it. Why would I need it? What am I going to do with it? You'll give it back to me later. Listen. Well, I have to go. He shoved the key into my hand and ran. No matter how you look at it, he's definitely strange. However, I didn't pay significant attention to this event, and just put the key in my pocket. I got to the canteen even before dinner. Fortunately, it was already open, but no food was being served. I took my favorite seat in the furthest corner and concentrated on playing with the toothpick. Soon I got the feeling that someone was standing next to me. I raised my eyes and spotted Olga Dmitrievna. We just stared at each other for some time. Do you need something? Finally, I broke the silence. You know, Semyon. Sure, I understand everything, but... What? I asked, surprised. Did you think I didn't notice your absence last night? Absence is quite an overstatement. I'd rather say I just went out for a moment. Well, so what? What's the matter? I thought that it was nothing to, but I was determined to check. The camp leader's expression was increasingly heading towards a frown. So have you checked? I still couldn't understand what she was up to. Yeah, I checked. And you know what? For a true pioneer, it's just unacceptable. It's shameful, it's disgraceful, especially with her. Yeah, you say, Olga. You scold him. You stupid idiot. She flushed red with exertion. I don't even want to hear your pitiful excuses. A vague idea of what she was talking about dawned on me. So, what happened? Would you care to explain? And now you've got the nerve to play innocent, you, with Ulyana. Now it all became crystal clear. I've got two things to tell you. First, I started getting steamed up. Nothing of that sort happened there, and I'm the last one who has any relation to the situation. Don't even try to play innocent, Semyon. I'm in your head. I know exactly what you've been thinking. And you think that. Second, I rudely interrupted her. Who told you that? In fact, the answer was obvious. Ulyana would not do that, and if she had decided to once again play a trick on me, she would have done it much earlier. From the time spent here, I'd begun to understand her well. And that leaves only one possible candidate. Why does it matter? No, it does. Would you care to explain your behavior, then? Olga Dmitrievna seemed to be a little taken aback by my vehemence. Is that even how you say that? I feel like I'm exaggerating it too much. There's nothing to explain. I quickly got up and headed to the exit of the canteen. It just looks like you're running away. Semyon, wait. I heard the camp leader's weak prattle behind me. If you act decisively with her, then she is not that confident. So now I have to get things straight with Dubious. While her pranks hadn't concerned me, or only concerned me indirectly, I could bear it. Just thinking about it, I'd even started to consider her not such a bad person. I met Slavia at the square. Do you know where Alyssa is? Yes, I do. What's the matter? Just tell me. My words sounded obviously rough, but it seemed that she didn't pay any attention. She's at the music club. Slavia was right, and I met Alyssa near the club. However, she was accompanied by Miku. Mind explaining yourself? I didn't waste time on pleasantries. No. What makes you think so? Alyssa gave me a cute smile. Oh, Semyon, hi. How nice that you're here too. Maybe then 3 of us can play something. I have a new song, and you know, it's so funny. I'm sure you'll like it, I promise. Or we can choose something old. Miku interrupted the conversation. Could you...
What?
She looked at me with a smile of an uncomprehending child. From that moment I understood what exactly she had in her mind. Little rabbits, teddy bears, pussycats, but no sign of intelligence. I need to talk to Alyssa, I said in a tone that brooked no disagreement.
Okay, maybe later.
It looked like she was upset, though I didn't care. So,
I don't understand what you mean,
Alyssa said, offended.
And anyway, I have to go.
She turned around and got ready to leave.
I'm out here to get the bad ending, so roughly grab her arm.
I rudely grabbed Alyssa's wrists. What are you doing? The girl was really frightened. Who told the camp leader that Ulyana came to me at night? I don't know. Couldn't Olga have easily just peeked out the window? It's not that hard. Especially if she knew that he got up and walked out. She could have gotten out of bed herself and peeked out. She pleaded piteously. We discussed it this morning, didn't we? She said nothing but continued to look at me with fear in her eyes. And most importantly, what's the purpose of telling 1,000 lies? I really don't know what you're talking about. Her eyes filled with tears. Suddenly I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning. What if she isn't guilty? And why did I immediately think of her? Anyone else could have easily seen us at night. You never know, even Ulyana herself could tell anyone. Are you sure? I asked harshly. Yes. I thought for a second, and this time was just enough for Alyssa to escape. And now the only true solution is to talk to Olga Demetrina again. I found her on the canteen porch. By that time, the sun had nearly disappeared behind the horizon. You came back after all, she began. Olga Demetrina, could you tell me honestly who told you about it? I've just spoken to Devcheskia, it's not her. Ulyana wouldn't do it herself, so who? In fact, I myself didn't realize why I needed to know this. Initially, I was just mad at Alyssa, but now... Well... She hesitated. Some strange girl. But this still doesn't... A strange girl? Well, yes, not from our camp, it seemed. What did she tell you about this? How should I know? Olga Demetrina, but this is... I took a deep breath and turned away. Just why does she have to obviously lie? Although maybe she's trying to protect somebody. Let's say... Damn, I can't even imagine. Alright. I said quietly and walked briskly away from the canteen. I had absolutely no desire to continue listening to Olga Demetrina's stupid lies. Our so-called camp leader. I walked aimlessly, completely lost in thought.
Are you on guard duty?
I heard a cheerful voice from behind. It was Ulyana. Nothing special, just... Seems like there's no choice of finding out who Olga Demetrina's informer was. And yesterday's incident was hushed up somehow, so I decided not to think about it.
What do you have planned for the evening?
Nothing, I guess. After all my frantic attempts to uncover the truth, I felt some inexplicable guilt before Alyssa and Ulyana. What exactly the guilt before Ulyana was about was completely unclear, though.
Then I have a suggestion.
What is it?
I brought a video cassette from home.
Her eyes flashed conspiratorially. And... couldn't even remember when the last time I had watched or heard something recorded on cassette was.
With a cool movie on it.
Or would we get a VCR here? This word came to me from the past and I decided to test whether my guesses about which time period I had been
placed in was right. At the Cybernetics Club, of course.
There's nothing there, I said confidently.
What about in the back room?
She was right. It could be there. Well, maybe. But anyway, it's too late and everything is closed. That strange feeling of guilt I felt in front of Ulyana wasn't giving me a chance to refuse immediately.
We can get in there through the window.
She grinned mischievously. Well, you know.
Maybe you're right. Wish we could get a key,
mused Ulyana. But I had one, in my pocket. And I just remembered about it. Now that you mention it, yes, I've got a key. Next time I'd better think before I speak.
That's good. Then I'll quickly run to get the tape. You wait here, and I'll be right back.
She disappeared before I could even open my mouth. It's strange that she wasn't surprised that the key to the Cybernetics Club mysteriously appeared to be in my pocket, at the right place and time. But in any case, I have to decide what to do next. The most right and logical thing would be not to go anywhere with her. But my guilt got to me. Though it seems to me that there could be nothing criminal in watching a movie with her. But on the other hand, with Ulyana, even the most harmless things can turn into a three-ring circus. At the very least. I was already starting to forget about what had happened this evening, about my frantic attempts to get the truth from Melissa and Olga Demechina. In just a couple of minutes she returned.
Having second thoughts?
I looked at Ulyana and felt a bit uncomfortable.
Are we going?
Listen, you know, your ideas are, let's say, not entirely safe. And in the end, everything will end badly again.
Are you scared?
No, I'm not. I'm just a grown man and I'm not interested in such games.
Grown man?
She laughed. Indeed, I forgot that I looked 17 at most.
What makes you think so?
It's really hard to accept, but I had nothing to say to that. Thinking about it the whole time I spent here, I did not display any particular forethought, nor life experience, nor cold, balanced assessment of the situation. Though, the other question is, did I ever show those in that life? And in fact, even if I think, I would recall some examples, of course, but... Okay, let's go. I was so offended by Ulyana's words that I asked, and what is a grown man in your opinion?
One who is responsible for his actions, one who does not do anything without thinking about the consequences, a person who is capable of taking care not only of himself, but also of others.
So not Semyon. And all that doesn't describe you, that's for sure. I tried to laugh it off.
I'm not pretending to be like that anyway,
grinned Ulyana. Yes, she was absolutely right. I do not possess any of those qualities. But I also thought that not being 17 is all that's required. It seems that in general there's no difference between me and other people, and if I wish I could be exactly like they are. Is that all wrong? In fact, no. Because in this camp I tried to behave in a most logical, sensible, and proper way. Like an adult. No, you don't. You completely try to avoid anything that requires you to do what could be a chore. You're constantly trying not to go to anything besides eating. And when you do have to do it, you complain about it and try to get out of it. But even Ulyana says differently. Then how can I get out of here? We went in. It took some time for Ulyana to find the light switch.
Presto.
Well done, bravo. I exaggeratedly clapped my hands. Don't you think that you should not be around Ulyana alone, considering Olga is suspecting you of being gross?
Hey, stop making fun of me.
She pouted. Okay, what's next?
Here.
Ulyana went to the door to the second room, hesitated for a moment, and pushed it open. I hope this bad ending, Semyon gets arrested. All I want is for a CG of Semyon getting arrested. There wasn't much space inside. Seems more like this room was used for storage. Boxes piled on top of each other had formed some sort of Alps in miniature. Various devices scattered here and there reminded me of the chaotic brainstorm raging in head of a scientist. Bookshelves on the far wall made it clear that there was not a simple storage for unused junk. I don't know what you're talking about, because this looks pretty neat to me. To my right there was a TV set with a video player sitting next to it. Interestingly, they were not Soviet. I'd bet they were Japanese. At least going by their appearance. Not very surprising in those days, or more accurately for me these days, imports already existed.
What did I tell you?
Ulyana smiled triumphantly. Yeah.
Have you seen anything like that before?
I have. Perhaps I've got a VCR too. Probably it's lying somewhere on the mezzanine in my house. What the heck is a mezzanine? Like how sometimes I decide to look up what a word is, and other times I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Just bye. I'm leaving now. I don't care. It looks familiar, but... A low story between two others and a building, typically between the ground and first floors. I said it right. I'm proud of myself.
Seems like you're not surprised at all.
Why should I be surprised? I just said I've seen it before.
A Japanese TV set, a video player, you look like you've often seen such things.
Not too often lately. I agreed lazily.
You're so gloomy. Nevertheless, okay, take it.
She handed me a cassette. I turned it over in my hands, but did not find any sticker or labels on it. So what's on it?
I don't know exactly,
mused Ulyana.
But I'm sure it's something very interesting.
Soon the logo of a well-known American film company appeared on the screen.
Here, watch.
Ulyana even started fidgeting impatiently. I'm watching. A few minutes later, I realized that the tape contained a famous film from the 80s. It was about a robot from the future sent to kill someone in the past, so in the years in between, a hero wouldn't be born. Interesting coincidence. You could say I was sent from the future, too. So what? My mission is to kill someone from among the local residents? I cannot help laughing.
What's so funny?
Ulyana looked at me reproachfully. Oh, no, nothing.
Seems as if you don't like the movie.
The movie's alright. I've seen it several times.
How can that be?
Her eyes widened in surprise. Well, my friend gave me a cassette. Ulyana stared intently at me. Anyway, keep watching. I pointed at the screen. When the film was about halfway through, I heard someone trying to open the front door. It's said that when a person has one of their senses weakened, the others are amplified. I was quite blind but could hear perfectly. Lights off, I whispered.
What?
Turn off the lights. Ulyana realized that this wasn't the time to argue with me and rushed to the switch. Meanwhile, I pressed the pause button. I heard footsteps in the other room and saw a flashlight flickering under the door. I wonder who decided to sneak into the cybernetics club at night. They're not here. It was the voice of Olga Dmitrievna. Soon the front door slammed shut and I sighed with relief. See that? Again, that's because of you.
What?
Ulyana stared at me in surprise. Why else would she come here at night? She's definitely searching for us. Alyssa likely doesn't care about your absence, but I'm registered at the camp leader's cabin. So it's your fault. She thought for a while.
Well, so what?
So what? Why are you constantly looking for trouble? It's almost as if you like it. Well, stop blaming Ulyana. Considering that you live in the camp leader's cabin, having you around when anyone wants to do anything is the worst. 'Cause, like, if you were out trying to steal snacks from the canteen, Ulyana would be like, "Oh no, where's Semyon?" And she'd go out to look for you and everybody gets caught. You suck. So what? Why are you constantly looking for trouble? It's almost as if you like it.
It's more fun this way.
Is it fun when you're constantly scolded and punished?
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
She laughed merrily. Eventually there are also rules. Well, up until now, you've evaded serious consequences, but who knows what could happen next? It could all end badly.
You grumble like a granny.
She said offended. And who said recently that I could not be called an adult?
Forget it. Let's finish the movie.
I decided not to argue with her. In the end, we're already on Olga Demetrina's list, and an hour later, an hour earlier, does it really matter? At each scary scene, Ulyana jumped, screamed, and grabbed me by the hand. I was not so keen on the film, but still pretended that I was also interested. Apart from the evil robot, there was a good man sent from the future to prevent his evil deeds. Maybe I'm not here with the goal of becoming a ruthless killing machine, but on the contrary, to change or prevent something. To prevent some event, for example, or to stop someone from some wrongdoing. The analogy is fairly interesting, but is not based on any real facts. I don't have a shotgun in my hands, I'm not wearing a leather jacket, and I haven't got a motorcycle to ride. I don't even have sunglasses. Look! The next chase, with shooting and the destruction of various types of wheeled and propellered vehicles, was unfolding on a screen. Do you think the good guy will win? Of course I knew the answer.
Obviously. Good always triumphs.
She said seriously. If we consider that Ulyana often succeeded in her silly ventures, the meaning of the word good gets seriously twisted.
Wait, but you've already watched it.
Yeah, just wanted to know your opinion. Soon the film came to an end. During the final scene, Ulyana ran around the room trying to get a better view of everything happening on the screen without missing anything.
Huh,
she gasped with relief when the ending credits started. Liked it?
You need to ask? Of course.
That's good.
And I can see you didn't really.
She squinted slyly. Well, it's a film for kids after all.
Really?
Well, yeah, so what?
Nothing.
She yawned and sat on the floor with her back against a pile of boxes. It's probably time to go to sleep.
I'm tired and I won't go anywhere.
As you wish. I better go then.
Hey, wait.
Ulyana immediately jumped up and grabbed me by the hand.
Will you leave me here all alone?
Well, if you want, should I carry you to your cabin? I said uncertainly. In the end, I was already experienced at that.
No, I want to sleep here.
She rummaged in the box next to her and pulled out some sort of blankets and pillows. Again, the same story. I sighed. Just think. Olga Demetrina is already looking for us, and if we spend all night here...
Well, firstly, she's looking for you. That has nothing to do with me.
Laughed Ulyana. Even if that's so, then you'll be got too.
What makes you say that? And even if I do get caught, that's okay. I'm used to it.
Why are you so stubborn? It's only a couple of 100 meters to your cabin. As well as that, you couldn't say that Ulyana was completely exhausted.
I'm so tired.
She wrapped herself in a blanket, turned away from me, and began to diligently fake loud snores. Okay then, see you tomorrow. I tried to leave, but Ulyana grabbed my hand again. Well, now what? She didn't say anything. She looked as if I'd scared her. Right then, what I should do was completely unclear. Our little cassette adventure was idiotic from the beginning, but now it was beyond my comprehension. I had no idea what the logic behind her action was, but the meaning and motivation was there. However, despite all this, I couldn't firmly say no. Something stopped me, maybe a sense of duty or pity, or the patience which must be shown when communicating with children. Okay, what do you want from me?
Go to sleep with me.
Seems like I've seen it somewhere already. Well, let's assume... I turned off the light and nestled beside her. Good thing it was summertime, otherwise sleeping on the wooden floor would not be the best idea. The lack of a mattress is not even worth mentioning.
Why did you agree so easily?
I could hear the resentment in her voice. You asked, so I did. And in fact, I was completely convinced that Ulyana will fall asleep quickly as always, and I'll carry her to her cabin. Basically, it's a good plan despite the fact that I will again serve as a beast of burden.
Hey, talk to me.
Just sleep. You're the one who wanted to.
Just talk.
About what?
Tell me something interesting about yourself. Funny stories from your life.
My life is not that action-packed.
Nothing to recall at all?
Even if I had something, telling her was not the best idea. Nothing at all.
It can't be that bad.
I turned to Ulyana. She was lying with her eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. It can, trust me.
But that's so boring.
From time to time. She was silent for a while and then smiled and said,
But here you had fun.
Oh, that's true. I laughed.
Will you remember this camp?
First I need to get out of here. Of course I will.
And the others?
I will.
And me?
And you. I said it all with an absolutely even tone, and to be honest, without really thinking about the meaning of her questions.
And I will,
whispered Ulyana. Immediately I felt her head dropping on my chest and her hand wrapping around my neck. Comfortable?
Yeah.
She murmured. You haven't found a better place? She shook her head slightly. Well, let her lie like that. In the end, maybe she'll fall asleep faster. Probably no more than 5 minutes passed before I decided to check on her and lightly tugged on her shoulder.
What?
She asked without looking up. I noticed an unusual note in her voice. Why aren't you sleeping?
Look who's talking.
Time was passing treacherously slowly. I decided to wait at least another 10 minutes before the next time I checked, but the seconds seemed to be hours. My eyes began to slowly close. I struggled to stay awake. I blinked for a moment and woke up only to realize that my state was close to unconsciousness. Maybe just close your eyes for a minute. What's so terrible about that? The thought flashed through my head, and immediately I drifted off. There are probably worse things in life than falling asleep while being cuddled by a little girl. And now the door opens and armed men leap towards us. I can't make out what they're screaming, but their intentions are clearly far from good. Nah, I'm not scared at all. Rather, I'm embarrassed or even ashamed. When I opened my eyes, it took me some time to realize where exactly I was. It was dark in here, only a dim light was gleaming under the door. Why do they make storage rooms without windows? It's 'cause it's a storage room. You store things in there and you don't want the sun to bleach it or whatever the heck. Although obviously that's the way it should be, but why on earth would anyone bring a TV set and a VCR in here then? 'cause that's the best way to watch a movie when it's completely dark. I cursed the architects of this building in my mind and shook Ulyana by her shoulders. Come on, get up now. She stretched, and as we were lying together, I could see her sleepy eyes even in the dark.
Why? Let me sleep.
Ulyana tried to turn away, but I firmly grabbed her shoulder with my hand. I don't know what time it is, but regardless, it should be smart for us to get out of here.
Not now, later,
she whispered, half asleep. I said, wake up, come on. I jumped up and easily pulled her to her feet.
Ooh,
moaned Ulyana with frustration in her voice. I started to look for the light switch, but then suddenly heard footsteps outside the door. My heart sank. Why so early? We have a truckload of work to do. No time to waste. You know that we have to do it all before the departure. Alright, fine. It looks like our two amped-up cybernetic sis are paying a visit to the clubhouse before the break of dawn today. Shush, I whispered to Ulyana.
And what's the...
She didn't manage to finish her sentence as I silenced her with my hand. Well, I understand all that, but we might as well have waited until after breakfast. Oh, do you have something else to do? Not really.
Electronic needs to go back on Zaya. This is his daily routine.
I heard some hesitation in Electronic's voice. Sure you don't want to head off to the library bright and early again? Hadn't the slightest intention, he replied fretfully. Oh, yeah, sure, if you say so. Soon the work kicked off behind the door. I could hear hammer strikes, machines rattling, and Electronics buzzing. Electronic and Shurik were discussing their own matters, so I wasn't paying much attention. I was more interested in knowing when they'll finally leave the building. Rather soon, breakfast time is coming. But if we take Shurik's passion into consideration...
Let go of me!
Ulyana finally wrestled her way out, but didn't raise her voice after all.
Why can't we just leave?
She asked under her breath. And what do you think? It's all fine?
What's the problem?
Well, we've spent the whole night here together. And it's obvious that they'd assume, considering I'd taken the precaution of closing the door.
So?
What do you mean, so? I tiredly sighed. Just trust me. I know that it doesn't matter to you, but it does to me.
Okay, fine. Let's keep hiding here.
Agreed Ulyana resentfully. I was prepared to wait for a long time if necessary, but barely a couple of minutes later the front door opened and somebody came in.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Morning. It was Slavia.
I just wanted to ask if you happen to have any sticky tape.
We do, somewhere, replied Shurik thoughtfully. Take a look in the back room. Those words gave me goosebumps, and I grabbed the door handle in a stranglehold. Slavia approached the door from the opposite side and tried to pull it open, but I was straining against the door with all my strength.
It's locked.
It can't be. We never locked that room. Let me try. Shurik yanked the door handle, but nothing happened, although it took a lot of effort for me to hold it steady. It's stuck. Give me a hand here. In a few moments, they were trying to open the door together with Electronic. I grasped the handle as if my whole life was depending on it, but regardless, this was a short struggle. My hands quickly gave out and I let go. The door slammed open and the bright sunlight blinded me, so I couldn't see the startled faces of Shurik, Electronic, and Slavia for the first few seconds. Good morning.
Morning.
Ulyana was standing behind me so I couldn't see her, but I could feel the embarrassment in her voice. And what are you doing here? Asked Shurik, almost as if he wasn't surprised. Well, to tell the truth, we were watching a movie. Ulyana brought a tape and you have a VCR here. Shurik distrustfully stared into the depths of the back room. I gave Ulyana a nudge in the side until she got the message and displayed the tape. And what's that movie? A barely visible grin crossed Electronic's face. Just a regular film, a thriller, the latest thriller. Then I imagined what he and the others were thinking right now, and I was overwhelmed with rage. And if you think nothing like that. This is all your fault, Ulyana. I pointed my finger at Ulyana. She looked at me strictly in turn. Nobody's accusing you of anything, said Slavia without looking at me. At least there's one sensible person among all present here. Yet, she added under her breath. What? Everything was exactly as he told you. Ulyana joined the conversation. We were just watching a film and then felt sleepy. It was so late. We didn't think anything. That was all you. Just a stupid situation. Come on, enough. Electronic tried to put it off with a jest. I think Olga Demetrina will be the judge here, Slavia said in a cool tone. Ooh, you just pissed off Slavia. She's disappointed. Hey, wait. Why take this to the camp leader? Who else? But you see, we're telling the truth. I am not the one to judge. Damn it, then who? You've seen everything with your own eyes. That's for the camp leader to decide. Slavia said quietly and turned to go. Just wait! I appeared before the door in a single bound and blocked her way. Listen! This is none of my business. Slavia was trying to avoid my gaze. It seems like she's almost uncomfortable about the situation. I am just obligated to. Whom are you obligated to? Why do you need to do this? Because... She was unable to find the words to finish. So you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to tell anyone anything. No, she said nervously, but then raised her head and gave me an intense gaze. I'm sorry, Semyon. Just leave her. Let her go. I turned my head to Ulyana. This fraction of a second was enough for Slavia to slip out of the clubhouse. Oh, wait, just wait! I yelled at her as she ran, but it had no effect. Pursuing Slavia in a futile attempt to prevent her from going to the camp leader made no sense. If she intends to, I can't exactly tie her up. She can't prove anything anyway. Ulyana chuckled. Who cares whether she can prove anything or not? Don't you understand your position in all of this? In any situation you're involved in, your guilt is a foregone conclusion. Moreover, in a case like this? Well, we are responsible together then. She smirked trickily. Exactly. I left the building and sat on the stairs. Well, we will be on your side just in case, right, Shurik? I think so. I don't clearly understand what happened here, but presumably nothing that worrying. Okay. We're going for breakfast. Soon we lost sight of them. Let's go and eat as well, Ulyana said cheerfully. Food is all you think about. Why bother crying? What will change? She was right about that, at least. We just have to wait for the camp leader's decision. Let's just go. We headed for the canteen. All the camp had gathered for breakfast except Olga, Demetrina, and Slavia. It might be for the best, I guess. What are you thinking about? Ulyana asked me cheerfully when we took our food and sat. The same thing. Come on, stop worrying about nothing. Maybe it's nothing for you. Well, really, what was particularly bad about that? Every situation can be interpreted from different angles. And especially if you have a reason. Come on, what's the worst that can happen? You know, our camp leader, she's a bit eccentric. Well, maybe so, but we didn't do anything like that. Anything at all. I hope she believes that too. My relationship with Ulyana had improved dramatically lately. At first I only saw her as a naughty, ill-mannered child, but now I started to see the good sides of her character. Although there weren't too many. And now, just when everything was starting to work out, a hard conversation with a camp leader loomed ahead. Maybe I just dreamt everything that happened and Slavia's reaction this morning was just caused by surprise. Enjoying your meal? Olga Dmitrievna was hanging over me. She looked at me menacingly.
Yeah?
Would you mind explaining your behavior? Mind explaining what? Well, for example, how you happened to be in the Cybernetics Club utility room. Where did you get the key? What were you even doing there? I recalled the circumstances in which I obtained this cursed key. I should speak to Electronic about that. If Slavia told you our version.
We were watching a film,
Ulyana claimed seriously. The whole night? The camp leader asked sarcastically.
Then I just fell asleep and Semyon stayed with me.
And so there was no chance for you to go to your cabins?
Not even a tiny one.
And what are you going to say? Well, it sounds really stupid, but she's right. You expect me to believe that? Well, it's the truth. I can't really accuse you of anything. The camp leader started slowly. But on the other hand, this entire situation is beyond normal. Pioneers must not behave this way. And there are too many inconsistencies in your story. We get it. I agreed. Fatalistically. I will do the following. Ulyana, you are on detention. You will be confined to your cabin, and I will decide what to do with you later. I looked at Ulyana attentively. Contrary to my expectations, she didn't look upset. Clearly, I do not think that this is your fault, but to be fair...
Great. You know where to find me in case you need me.
She stood up instantly and headed to the exit. Olga Dmitrievna didn't try to stop her. There's always too much trouble with her, and she got you into all this. I don't really get what she got me into. And you seem to be too harsh on her. Show me another pioneer like her. The camp leader laughed. When she receives detentions for misbehaving, that's another story, but here... Actually, I don't really understand what was going on. What was indeed going on, but my duty is to look after your moral character, and this situation is suspicious. Highly suspicious. And how long are you going to keep her imprisoned? I don't know. Olga Dmitrievna pondered for some time. Today is a departure. But in these circumstances... What departure? I jumped at the word. The term is ending today. This is the last day. What? It was the only response I could squeeze out. The last day meaning... I'll finally be able to leave this damn camp. Maybe it's time for my suffering to end and I'll get back to my ordinary reality. Maybe he's gonna be stuck here like his spooky story. He's gonna be stuck here forever. Never-ending camp. Yay! But why so suddenly? Sudden for who? I talked about it in the lineup. She has a point. At the lineups I was usually sleeping or looking around, and didn't really listen to the announcements. And at what time? At about 5 o'clock. Don't forget to get ready. I hardly have anything to pack. She stood up, took a tray, and was going to leave. So what's going to happen to Ulyana? I don't know yet. I told you. She will probably leave later. How's that? Not with anyone? Well, yes. Is that normal? I was truly surprised. What's wrong with it? I don't know about wrong, but it's quite strange for sure. Well, I still have work to do. I dug aimlessly at my porridge, which had gone cold long ago. Departure, the possibility of getting out of here. But on the other hand, Ulyana. I myself felt guilty before her. In the end, she was penalized while I, at the same time, wasn't. That's not fair. No, it's not like I wanted to share her misery, but I don't think that it's fair that she sits there locked up. While there's still some time before leaving, it should be quite enough to make the situation clear. First, I decide to talk with Slavia. I hope she has calmed down. I'd gotten used to finding Slavia at the square, so I went there without any doubts. Why exactly there? Because in this camp I predominantly met her there. But there wasn't a single soul near Genda's Haven. I stood there for a while looking at the monument, then headed to the library. It makes sense that Xenia could know where her neighbor is right now. After knocking at the door, recalling my previous experience, this was not a useless mannerism, I went in. Xenia distracted herself from her book and looked closely at me. What do you want? What's wrong? Why do you react like that? I can't even come in? What? You came here for no reason? I doubt you wanted to read something. Well, no. The classics of the Marxism, Leninism weren't my favorite literature. I wanted to know where Slavia is. Why do you want to know? She said, as if she were sure that the conversation is over, and thus she proceeded with her reading. Well, since I'm asking clearly, I need to know. Should be on the pier, Xenia answered indifferently. Thanks. Learning what I wanted to know, I hurried out of this stronghold of malice. Yes, Xenia has a tough spirit. At least I have issues understanding her. On the pier, some pioneers were pulling boats into the docks, while others were running around with oars or ropes. After looking closely, I noticed Slavia, who sat quite far away near the water. Cleaning up? I asked the most neutral question that came to mind. Yep. She answered without turning. Listen, I want to talk about Ulyana? Well, yeah. Honestly speaking, I had no idea what to talk about. Slavia found us in the storage room, got it wrong, and told everything to the camp leader. No, it's not her concern anymore if you think about it. On the other hand, it would be a waste of time to talk to Olga Dmitrievna now. Maybe I just subconsciously wanted to understand Slavia's reasoning to be able to absolve her somehow. So, what do you want to say? Well, Ulyana got punished. Maybe she won't even leave with us. No wonder. I just wanted to explain to you that nothing special happened there. Frankly speaking, I don't know. I just had to report everything. So you did. Did it leave anyone better off? I mumbled to myself. Of course I'm not sure that it was right, she said confusedly. Well, what's done is done. Do you think it's possible to get Ulyana freed from house arrest? You're worrying about her so much. Slavia finally looked at me and smiled. Not about her, about justice. While I was a bit confused, I found the right answer. Well, you know our camp leader. I do, that's for sure. Just wait. She'll calm down eventually. Yeah, I guess that was the best decision. You're right. I stood near her in silence for some time. Slavia didn't seem eager to keep on talking. Still, there was some sense of incompleteness, but faced with the idea of this uncomfortable situation lasting for hours, I decided not to be a burden. Okay, I'll go then. See you. She smiled. In the middle of the square, I stopped to think. There's still a lot of time till the departure and I have nothing to do. Just yesterday when it seemed like I was stuck here forever and had lots of time, even though there was actually very little, I felt a need to think and act faster. But now that I've got only 5 hours left till I leave this camp forever, I have not the slightest idea on how to spend them. I decided to visit Ulyana. After all, even if she isn't allowed to leave her cabin, that doesn't mean I cannot pay her a visit. I knocked gently. You're not welcome here, an angry voice sounded from behind the door. I pulled on the handle and entered. Hail, prisoner. Oh, it's you. Ulyana said disappointedly. And what, am I the only one who isn't welcomed here? I tried to smile.
Why did you come?
Well, I thought that you'd be bored here all alone.
I'm fine.
Where's Alyssa?
As you can see, not here.
Come on, why are you so angry? In the morning you were in a much better mood.
Angry? Me?
Not me, that's for sure.
You have nothing else to do, so you came here, right?
Yeah, my bad. I sighed theatrically and hung my head.
Well, sit down then.
I sat on the opposite bed.
So tell me something.
Let's come up with a way to prove to Olga Dmitrievna that we did nothing wrong.
I did nothing wrong.
Ulyana corrected me.
You seem to have nothing to do with it.
Okay, let it be.
But why?
A tricky question. It feels like we've swapped our roles. I was suggesting a stupid plan while she was a voice of reason. Well, because we did nothing wrong.
What's the matter with you anyhow? I'll just stay grounded for a couple of hours and that's it. We have to depart soon anyway.
She flopped down to the bed and stared at the ceiling. Well, sure, but... I tried hard to cheer her up, but it looks like I haven't succeeded so far. Want to do something, maybe?
It's lunchtime already.
I took a glance at my watch. Yeah, right.
Here's a job for you. Since I mustn't go out, go and bring me something to eat.
Sir, yes, sir. I saluted her and hurried out of the cabin. Recently, I'd started to think that finally something has clicked in Ulyana's mind. Maybe the punishment had an effect on her, or possibly it was something else. And my attitude towards her has changed. Her wrongdoings used to make me feel nothing but irritation, but now there was also understanding and a sort of sympathy. After all, I used to be a child too. Perhaps if one explained to her what is right and what is not, she might be able to avoid any mistakes. In the canteen, I had an argument with the cook who refused to give me a double serving. However, everyone in the camp already knew about Ulyana being grounded, so eventually my powers of persuasion won out over dietary standards. Soon I was sitting at Ulyana's cabin and tucking away meatballs with potatoes. Just like a last meal.
What are you talking about?
Well, every death row prisoner has a right to make a last wish. Thus my last wish is a lunch like this. To my surprise, the food was really delicious. What would your wish be?
Well, to not be executed, of course.
She laughed. You can't.
Why? If you can wish for anything.
Well, you can, but within certain limits.
That means it's not anything.
Okay, well, it's not anything.
Then that's not interesting.
Well, I believe being a death row prisoner is hardly meant to be interesting in the first place. I grinned through my teeth. What? How do you grin through your teeth? It's so weird and creepy sounding.
I wouldn't know. I never went through that experience.
But if you know about it, that's almost my situation. This camp is my cell. For several more hours I'll stay under arrest, then I'll face uncertainty just like I would after death. The only difference is that I had more options. If I wanted to attend lineup, then I'd do so. If not, then I didn't. What are you going to do next?
What do you mean?
Well, after the camp. She looked at me in surprise.
Back to school, of course.
Yes, only for me, leaving this place is kind of like crossing a barrier, a frontier. The end of something and a beginning of something else. A week ago, it was terribly hard for me to realize that I had been pulled out of my usual world and brought to God knows where. But then I got used to it. And here we go again. Basically, the only difference is that now I face not a sense of fear and horror, but a blunt, sinking feeling of uncertainty.
And you?
I'll find something to do.
Something?
She burst into peals of laughter. Yeah, what's the matter?
You should have gone to a circus school to be a clown.
Why?
One can't help laughing when looking at you.
But why?
You always act like some kind of martyr. A new messiah of all the Russians.
Well, there was quite a bit of truth in her words. I have my reasons. I mumbled and turned to face the window.
What reasons?
Various. Why are you so curious?
Have you forgotten that I'm a child?
She grinned archly. Well, half an hour with you is like a terrible torture for me.
Look who's talking. You're just one really nasty-tempered person.
What makes you think so?
You're always deep in soul-searching, trying to find out something, analyzing everyone around you.
I gave Ulyana an amazed look. I would never expected such a little girl to become capable of such mature judgment. And
that's it.
At the very least, I know how to behave myself and I don't end up grounded.
It's a matter of chance.
She grinned. Yeah, sure.
If last night...
She stopped short. Last night what?
Nothing.
No, finish what you started. She just opened her mouth when steps were heard behind the door, and a second later, Olga Demetrina entered the room. Ah, there you are. That's even better. She seemed confused and lost for words. Well, I reconsidered this morning's incident. It's not like it became much clearer, but it doesn't look like a big deal. So, Ulyana, you're officially not grounded anymore. If only you did that right from the start, I muttered. Did you say something? Olga's finally doing her job. You shut up. No, nothing. Departure is coming. Time to pack your stuff. Saying that, she left the cabin.
Now you see how it all turned out.
Yeah. I sighed. Are you going to pack?
Yeah, I guess so. And you?
Yeah, I'm going to pack my stuff too. She didn't reply, so I left the cabin. Well, it looks like my last mission in the camp is complete. Ulyana's sentence was overturned after all. The only thing left for me is to leave this place and get ready for something new. I swept my eyes around the room as I entered the camp leader's cabin. Do I have anything to pack anyway? I stuffed my winter clothes into a bag and took a seat on the bed. I was haunted by an agonizing feeling of incompleteness, either déjà vu, or a feeling that I forgot something, but still can't remember what it was exactly. When all is said and done, I haven't managed to find any answers here, and now I'll have to continue my quest elsewhere. Does it really matter how and why I came here, if it's not possible to escape? And it seems that nothing's up to me anyway. Everything seemed simpler before. Sure, I had no major prospects. My perspectives were hardly mind-blowing, but at least everything was pretty clear. Yet the week I've spent here raised more issues than my whole previous life. The clock struck 5 o'clock. I took the bag and walked quickly to the bus stop worried they might leave without me. It appeared that the bus was already waiting there, as were all the pioneers. Everyone's here? Began Olga Demetrina. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you've spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Semyon. Semyon. I'm so tired. I did the worst thing of recording these all back to back. I don't know why. I just did. It was a terrible idea. I also hope that you become at least a little bit better, manage to learn something and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader turned around. It seemed that she was trying to hold back her tears. I didn't expect her to get so emotional, although her speech sounded like complete nonsense as usual. The pioneer slowly started to get on the bus. It looks like Alyssa is staring right at us and it's very disconcerting. I ran an eye over the crowd looking for Ulyana. Where's Ulyana? She won't be going. What? The leader answered shortly. How? Why? She's grounded. But you said... She's at it again. What do you mean? Hey, get inside or they'll leave without you. Indeed, I was the last man standing outside. Wait a second. Move it. She nudged me onto the bus. I decided not to argue. Here at the end, I can't be held responsible for her forever. Here we go again. If she's going to be so stubborn, then it's up to her to face the consequences. I took the last seat. There was no partner for me, which I was fine with at that moment. However, soon enough, Alyssa moved to sit next to me. Where's Ulyana? Stayed. Why? Grounded. I gave one-word reply, showing no interest in conversation. Why? Don't know. And what, you haven't even tried to find out? Is it worth staying back for? You should. For what? If you want, you can stay. We haven't gone far. Yeah. She said calmly and went off to her place. Slavia and Xenia were sitting in the front seats and talking with enthusiasm about something. Lena, Miku, Shurik, Electronic were sitting closer to me and playing cards. Alyssa and some other girl were looking through a magazine. Probably I was the only one who had nothing much to do. I caught myself thinking that I still felt a bit guilty about what happened to Ulyana. But what could I do? If I'd stayed together with her, I would have probably missed my only chance to leave. And in my position, playing such games could prove fatal. And apart from that, enough is enough. Yet still I couldn't stop thinking about her. That I'm at fault. That I've acted cowardly, done a bad thing. That anyone in my shoes would have. But why? Anyway, who is she to me that I need to take risks for her sake? It was even harder to answer this question. During the week I spent here, I got to know her and others quite well. In the end, I felt responsible for Ulyana in some way. But what's the point in thinking about it now? I'm leaving this pioneer camp. I'm headed into the unknown. Starting from this moment, I have to make all my decisions based on the assumption that this world is alien to me, and most probably hostile. And I have no one to rely on. Although thinking about it, such a state of affairs isn't too new for me. I was always alone in the past. Sovyanok has been left far behind me. Night has fallen on this strange world. It was so dark that it seemed the bus was floating across a bluish-black ocean, and only sometimes would gloomy forests and fields reaching to the horizon rise like waves from its surface. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I was knee-deep in my reflection. It feels to me like I've left some unfinished business back at camp, even though I can't go back now. Bad things, good things, everything will be forgotten soon, leaving only the fact of my appearance here, the end of my old life, and the beginning of a new one. Practically speaking, it's nothing fancy, just an 80s pioneer camp that I was being beamed to from my own time. In any case, I'd rather worry about what's waiting for me at the town we're headed for. After all, I've got nowhere to return to. I have no home, no money, no friends or relatives. All these pioneers that I'll part ways with in a few hours, I won't see any of them ever again. And them, I don't think that they will remember me in a couple of years. It's not a big deal for them. To them, I'm not the time traveler, but a common boy, their peer. The road seemed endless. Most of the pioneers were long asleep, yet I was still fighting the urge to take a nap. It's always better to enter the unknown while remaining awake, though the unknown always has an edge in this battle, the flow of time that is able to control as it sees fit. You wait a minute, an hour, but nothing happens. Your nerves, already strung out to their limits, really surrender to the stress and you just fall asleep. It felt like I hadn't slept at all. It happens all the time. You just close your eyes and fall asleep. The hour hand makes several turns, the morning comes and you wake up, but it feels like you just blinked. I yawned so wide that I almost broke my jaw and jumped up because of the pain. Something was wrong. Though not something, everything was wrong. I was back in my apartment. But how can that be possible? I began to panic and I started to run around my room in the hope of calming myself down. Physical tiredness can often overcome an emotional one. My head was empty, fear and terror took over my whole being, and some kind of song was floating in my mind. Maybe a prayer, or maybe just an incoherent jumble of thoughts designed, if not to calm me down, then at least to distract me from my panic. It was about half an hour before I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, and fixed my eyes on the ceiling. It seems like I had not gone anywhere. The old chandelier looked down at me unkindly with its dusty lamps. The cracks in the plaster were in the same places and the unstuck wallpaper hadn't slipped down even a little. Was it really a dream? But it can't be. It just can't be. I spent an entire week in that pioneer camp. I was definitely there. I remember everything perfectly, from my awakening aboard the bus, right up to the departure. Neither dreams nor hallucinations can be that real. Somehow I stood up, went to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and returned to the room. The blood was still hammering in my temples, but at the least the terror of the first few minutes was gone, or had just taken a break. I concentrated on the last thing I remembered. It was a departure from the camp. The night, the bus bouncing over the bumps, the dirty, murky glass, beyond which almost nothing was visible, and the pioneers. I've been absolutely positive that I would never return, or just didn't think about it. Anyway, I was prepared for our arrival at the district center in a few hours and was already considering options for further actions. Or not. Damn it! I roared and pulled on my hair with all my strength. I can't remember! The last hours in that world merged into a monotonous mirage, as if a drunken Renner was completing his painting with a roller instead of a brush. But it's not that bad. Wait a minute. Why would it be bad? On the contrary, everything is fine. I would even say perfect. I've broken free from that goddamn world and returned home. The most important thing now is not to end up there again. It might happen, surely it could. But it might not happen as well. Indeed, I have nothing to worry about now. Everything will be fine. Obviously, I was just seeing things. Exactly. I was seeing things. It doesn't matter that everything felt that real. Something like that just can't happen. It can't. I claim with all due confidence that it just can't. Modern science claims it's impossible. Not allowed. I laughed loudly. An inner voice tried to stop the verbal diarrhea spouting from my mouth, but it didn't succeed. It feels like my speech and thoughts are separating to exist on their own, independent from each other. My brain prompted me to calm down and try to analyze the situation, while my tongue simply tried to ease the stress by throwing new and new meaningless words out into the air. Finally, I was somehow able to pull myself together. I pulled the curtains open and looked out the window. The night city looked exactly the same as it did a week ago. The view brought my mind back to reality, at least to some extent. After all, if everything is now normal and nothing suspicious or supernatural is happening, then wasn't it just a dream? Essentially, there are only two options now. I can agree that it was just a dream and calm down, or I can trust my own feelings and accept the camp, the bus, and the pioneers were real. Either way, whatever I choose, I won't get any answers. It's funny, I was looking for these answers for a whole week, or at least pretending to, and found nothing, but I broke free from that weird world anyway, and what now? The enigma remains and additional questions have surfaced. In the end, I was exhausted and fell onto the bed. In a few seconds, I was snoring blissfully. Much time has passed from the moment I came back from Semyon, and a lot has changed in my life. The first week I was racking my brains trying to summarize and detail everything that had happened. Creating graphs and diagrams, writing to forums, discussing paranormal phenomena. I even planned to visit a psychic. In the end, it resulted in nothing, just as one would expect. It's no wonder. I was just a human being, but these events obviously were the affair of a supreme mind. If a caveman found himself in the early 21st century, even he would understand more than me. Well, at least he would think that a cell phone that transmits someone's speech dozens of kilometers away by the will of God is a miracle. But one can get used to it. Maybe if he completed secondary and higher technical education, he would even be able to understand how mobile communications work. It's a basic, exaggerated example, just as unreal as everything I experienced. I'm unlikely to ever understand how it worked or who was behind it, and I doubt that I could get used to it if it were to happen again. But one question troubled me ever since. Why? Why me? What did I, or did not, do to deserve this bad or good luck? Sure, in sci-fi novels, wonders often occur to quite ordinary people, but that was just a matter of chance. But I was absolutely positive that these events have occurred for some reason, just like a random sci-fi hero who traveled 1,000 years forward in time, leaving him in the wrong time and place. But in the future, no one knew him. Everyone thought that he was just a madman. But in my situation, they were expecting me at the camp, at least the camp leader was. How should I respond to that? Maybe I was picked out at random to be studied later on. Even so, the question why not only still stands, but rather becomes even more important. After not finding any sufficient explanation, I returned to my usual existence. But now I wasn't just sitting at the computer 24/7, wiping the F button free of dust. F5 button. Just the F button. New interests came into my life, but what they were I couldn't tell myself, and suddenly I wanted to get a higher education. Not to find a job, and not because it's necessary, just because I remembered how much fun I'd had during the first year of education. Chatting with course mates, days of lighthearted youthful fun, plenty of energy that I'd lacked so much over the last few years. A truly great man once said, any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into lazy habits of thinking. It's hard to argue with that logic. Any ordinary man will not sit around because he is lazy, but because a given subject is just of no interest to him. For instance, I'm not interested in knitting, so does it mean that I'm a slacker if I don't make a couple of woolen sweaters per month? But feeling too lazy to open a book, that's something I can understand. Although I like reading, when I start thinking that I have to get through a huge novel page by page, and even if it is interesting, even if it absorbs me so completely that I can't turn away, that part will only come later. For now, all I need is to get a book from a shelf and open it, but I feel too lazy. I don't know what exactly influenced me, but about a half of my time instead of the 5 to 10% of it from before. I was occupied with something useful. I read, wrote, studied something new, and engaged in sports. At least I exercised in the morning. Sometimes I thought that it was the influence of the camp. One can't rule out the possibility for all 7 days that I was participating in social activities, verbal communication with others in amounts that before would have caused terror and severe introversion in me. On the other hand, it's not so easy to change one's personality in a single week, especially for someone as stubborn as me. But it is easy to point them in a new direction, show them a guiding line. However, I'd never believed that it would be possible for me. Anyway, I enjoyed these changes so much that I tried not to think about their causes. What the hell? Nobody would worry about the why if he managed to hit the jackpot by betting his last pair of trousers. In summer, I re-enrolled at university, and studies started in autumn. Time passed. I eagerly attended lectures and seminars and studied for tests and examinations with a level of enthusiasm that I wouldn't have expected from myself. I managed to become a part of the group with surprising ease. Although I was older than most students, it didn't trouble me. Maybe it's because of my natural immaturity or changes in my personality. I didn't know for sure. Most likely the answer's somewhere in the middle. The joy of communicating with people, lost many years ago, returned. It was easy to get along with others. Their problems didn't seem so distant and trivial to me. Normal life, which before I had considered just a gray, depressing mass, started to shine with new colors.
Sometimes it seemed to me that I'd turned into a doll, became one of a billion identical tin soldiers standing in a straight row on a shelf in a toy shop. But in the shop, apart from the glowing showcase that sparkled with fancy writing, describing new season's offers and Christmas discounts, was a storage, where all the defective products were thrown: a teddy bear without a paw, a firefighter's truck in need of a mechanic, a transformer who looked more like a microwave than a mighty robot, jigsaw puzzles which assembled into trippy post-modernist pictures. My place used to be among these broken toys, and while some of them could take refuge in charity drives or an orphanage, my only fate was being dumped and recycled again. So I couldn't help enjoying such changes in my life. It was the last lesson of the hardest subject this term. Most students didn't like it, because of its difficulty and the hard-to-understand teacher, I suppose. But I found a kind of pleasure in dealing with tables, graphs, and diagrams. Counting the figures by pieces, I arranged them in columns and lines in the right order, summing up, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying, and using them to get a precise picture of any event. No number could avoid my attentive gaze. All of them would be captured, calculated, and analyzed. Each of them would get an index number and a place in their proper cell. After its arrival, every digit will be assigned a bunk, work uniform, and off-duty clothes, and will be sent to perform its designated task. Some will be digging a trench from 9 to 5, some will march off to face the trends, and some will be trying to hit a linear regression on the shooting range. What are you thinking about? Reluctantly, I stopped writing and gazed at my classmate, taking notes on the lecture, as you can see. Oh, just screw it. Just read the workbook afterwards. I'll read the workbook as well. I'm always astonished by you. What's so astonishing? You're planning to gain a first-class diploma, aren't you? Never thought of it. Don't tell me you really find it interesting. I remember that just a moment ago I'd imagined myself emblazoned on a banner borne aloft by a regiment of digits and couldn't help smiling. Ugh! Semyon says too many words! Too many words for something he doesn't need to say so much about. You won't even need all this stuff. Everything will be needed. At least for general development. The classmate grinned sarcastically. I bet you never read even a single book in your whole life. Still what? I read books. I read this textbook. I gotta do my homework somehow. He asked challengingly. Just stating a fact. You're always somewhere up in the clouds. Just 'cause you read books doesn't mean you're better than me. He was right about that. Although I'd regained part of my lost social skills, I often slipped out of touch with reality, dreaming of something else. You say it like it's a bad thing. And there's nothing wrong with not reading books either. Human beings can't have only material needs. I said philosophically, mocking him. Oh, you're such a downer, yawn. Although, you keep talking like you're super better in all of this, your philosophical sayings, but it's not that profound, bro. Get over yourself. The lecture was approaching its end, and I began to plan out the rest of the day. Need to buy some groceries and later finish a project and send it to the client, I almost said clinic. And then I got to write down notes. And then in the evening I can just read or watch something. Unless someone phones or writes to me. There's no urgent matter, so I can spare some time for my mates. Oh, 5 whole minutes to go. I looked at my phone and realized that it was exactly a year after I returned from Soviet pioneer camp. My soul felt warmer from such thoughts, and I smiled blissfully. It's not often anymore that I recall those events. Obviously, one can't just forget something like that, those moments of something bizarre and extraordinary that are engraved in my memory forever. Normally, even the happiest moments fade and just reminiscences of them remain, nothing more. But the week spent in Sovyetnok was different. I remember everything in perfect detail. The terror of the first minutes after waking up in the bus, the first day, hard, full of surprises and amazing acquaintances. Cheerful and carefree pranks with Ulyana. Just take that trick from the ghost, for instance. The basic Soviet comedians could envy it. And the pioneers had such expressions. They were dying laughing. It sure would be nice to meet Ulyana in real life. Well, she's not always perfect. She's hyperactive and she doesn't have any idea about good manners, but one doesn't meet such a sincere, carelessly cheerful and energetic person very often. Maybe she gave some of that energy to me. It makes the fact that she had to stay behind even sadder. Of course, it's just a dream, a figment of my imagination. Although you still can worry about a book and film characters. Oh, about book and film characters. Brain's super struggling. One laughs and cries with them and feels their pain. Same thing for me. It seems that if I had acted differently, the story would have had an even more joyful, happy end. However, I'm sure that Ulyana is happy in that world. I just can't imagine her being upset for longer than 5 minutes. Her optimism will help her to find a way, even in the most difficult situations. I wonder what she will look like when she grows up. The bell rang. My classmate stood up and looked at me keenly. Okay, see ya. Can I crib notes from you later? If you had been writing down your own during the lecture, you wouldn't need any. So can I? Okay, fine. Cheers! He smiled and left the lecture hall. Slowly, I packed all my exercise books and textbooks up in my backpack and looked around the empty hall. For a moment, I could almost smell the knowledge in the air, like sea salt in the air on the deck of a ship. Thousands and thousands of students came here to study, to learn something new, or to forget something they used to know. Some slept through lectures, some wrote them down attentively, just like me, but nobody was completely indifferent. Those who didn't care stayed home, pulled the curtains across the windows, and fixed their eyes on a monitor. I sighed reluctantly and left the lecture hall, with the firm intention of not wasting this day. Oh boy. You can absolutely tell that I was losing my voice. I don't know. I really don't know why I thought it was a good idea to record for so long. Not surprised that the entire route was Semyon, like, sweating over the entire thing. Honestly, I feel like Ulyana's route didn't need to be. The ending for her bad end was kind of lame. Because it was just like, oh, well, she's staying behind because she won't calm the hell down. She's always on her shit. And now she's she's stuck behind, and that's it. That was all it was. At least with, like, Alyssa and Lena, there was still talking with each other, and there was a reason why things went bad. Despite the fact that I was rooting for Semyon getting arrested, I'm glad that nothing major happened that would have made me uncomfortable. Or more uncomfortable than I already was. I hope you guys have a good day and a good night. Whenever bad ends aren't actually bad, it's confusing. But yeah. See you guys in Ulyana's good end. Bye. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Everlasting Summer. I totally thought I finished the entire route, but I did not. I forgot to do the good ending. So, here I am, about to do it. It's nighttime, by the way. So, there may occasionally be fireworks. Because for whatever reason, the neighborhood has been firework happy. Anyway, because I forgot that I didn't do the good ending, I couldn't remember where my save was. So hopefully this is the correct one, or I'll be very sad. Count me in. I looked at Ulyana, astonished. Her thirst for adventure seemed to have no limits. Look, night, ghosts, an old camp, it's great. On one hand, such company always promises trouble, but on the other hand, it feels safer going together. Perfect. Having said our goodbye to the other girls and Olga Demetrina, we were left alone. Do you consider this just an entertaining walk? Well, yes. What's the matter? Ulyana giggled. Never mind, really. I sighed. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna fetch a flashlight. Okay. Smart. I was just about to suggest that myself. It seemed I would not only have to visit an abandoned camp at night, but also look after a fidgety child. Well, since it's Ulyana, I should be twice as cautious. I have to bring an entire first aid kit, just in case. It's not for her, it's for me. Electronic had told us the old building was built right after the war. It looked like a kindergarten, or like a barracks, I expected. And definitely could hold less pioneers than today's camp. It had been abandoned for about 20 years. Ulyana skipped forward as if everything was just a game to her. I was ill at ease. Actually, that was normal for a person in my situation. In the night forest with scary animals and birds eager to swoop down on you, the full moon and this whole other world I had come into not too long ago. I might be better off all alone without needing to look after Ulyana, who was running in front of me. How hasn't she tripped over something yet? Listen, be careful. Or what? She turned around so quickly that I shivered. Why? It's just too spooky for you? I mean, yeah, kids are pretty scary. Nothing. You may hurt yourself. Are you worried about me? Of course I am. I mean, that's normal in such a situation. If you get hurt, Semyon will be to blame. Ulyana pouted. Listen. I decided to continue our conversation. It's more relaxing and less scary this way. But what is it about that old camp? You were saying back there at the square. Yeah, it's a really scary place. They say that all the pioneers died there and became ghosts which guard their last earthly refuge. What did they die from? It was kind of hard to believe her scary tales.
How should I know? I wasn't even born back then.
But you said it so confidently.
I got information from a reliable source.
And where would that be from? From Melissa?
Not gonna tell you.
So what happened next? They died and became ghosts?
That's all.
What do you mean that's all?
And now the souls of the dead pioneers roam around the camp and take everyone who dares to enter the world of the dead.
Wow, okay, move along. Time passed. We went deeper into the depths of the woods where the trees enclosed everything. Suddenly I realized that the forest had gone completely silent. As if the night birds had hidden and waiting for something and the insects had dug into the ground. Even the wind had died away. I imagined that the streams of moonlight breaking through the thick foliage was ringing like plucked strings. At last trees parted and we walked out to the large glade. In the middle of it was an old building resembling a kindergarten. It was shrouded in thick fog. It looked like we'd come out into the cemetery, and the old camp building at its center was a crypt. According to Ulyana, there were pioneer souls roaming here. Truly, it was like a mass grave. I shivered and clenched the flashlight tighter. A dreadful place, to tell you the truth.
Oh, come on.
She patted me on the back cheerfully, which only made me more scared. How come you're scared now? Shouldn't she be the one who's scared, considering you guys told spooky stories? She got so scared she fell asleep. I was about to move forward when the moon showed among clouds, illuminating the glade, the old camp building, and us. Under the light, everything seemed not so old. The crumbling brickwork, rusty slide and merry-go-round, the few panes of glass that miraculously remained in some of the windows, they all became more vivid. I started to imagine that unknown monsters came out to the glade from the forest, a place of eternal darkness where even the moon can't reign. I hope that they fear the light like vampires. Though maybe they could turn into giant wolves at full moon, like werewolves. They're ghosts. They're not going to turn into werewolves. That's not how ghosts work.
Why have you stopped?
I'm thinking.
About what?
Why would Shurik want to come to such a place?
How should I know? We'll ask him when we find him.
Yeah, obviously. I mumbled and followed Ulyana. She walked more carefully now, looking under her feet, stopping occasionally and even looking back several times. That's natural. In some places the grass reached her chest height, and nobody knew what could be on the ground: scrap metal, stone, shattered glass. We finally reached the door. Ulyana stopped and said,
"Well, here we are."
As if you'd won a race. This isn't a game.
You're...
What?
boring.
I made a displeased face and stepped confidently into the darkness. It was dangerous to let Ulyana go first. Dangerous for her, dangerous for me, and maybe even for all of humanity. So dramatic. Boring and dramatic. The inside of the old camp building made an even more depressing impression. I even felt sad for it for a moment. Or probably for the people who lived here back then. It had surely been full of the joy of children in the past. Pioneers ran around, played games I'd forgotten. A strict leader like Olga maintained order. One session ended, a new one started. And now it's just standing here, crumbling, rotting, forgotten.
Look.
Ulyana gave me an old ruined doll, falling apart from the damp. One more piece of the past. So what?
Nothing.
She moved out of the light, but I noticed sorrow on her face. As sad as a cemetery.
Scary.
I haven't seen anything scary yet. It was indeed more relaxing in here than outside. It really was like a cemetery, as you look for a specific grave while walking among countless tombstones, feeling discomfort inside, but then you find it and your soul calms. I don't know, I feel like it'd be scarier inside because there's things that could fall on you, there's things that could be hiding. Outside, I feel like you could at least be able to run away. A lot easier. It was really like a cemetery, as you look for a specific grave while walking among the countless tombstones, feeling discomfort inside, but then you find it and your soul calms as you lie next to it. I shuddered and let the flashlight play around the room. There was no sign of Shurik. However, what did I expect to find here? His corpse? Looks like he isn't here.
What about the second floor?
Shurik! I called loudly, but only my echo answered me.
Shurik, come out!
See?
We should check anyway.
Can you even check? It looks like the stairs are all messed up. Okay. There was no sign of life on the second floor either. I sat on the stairs and hung my head, feeling doomed. Where to next? We can't walk around the whole forest and I'm already sleepy.
Why do you whine so much?
Ulyana was irritated.
Whining and whining, just like a kid.
Oh, am I wrong?
Right or wrong, what's the difference? If we're looking for Shurik, we must find him.
But how? I begged.
I don't know, somehow.
Ulyana looked like a strict teacher and myself like a careless schoolboy. But shouldn't it be the other way around?
Look.
I turned the light in the direction she pointed and noticed a trapdoor in the corner, surrounded by garbage. It looked like it had been opened not too long ago.
He must be down there for sure.
Ulyana rushed to the hatch and made a great effort to open it. Why would he go down there? It was probably, I don't know, some villagers? Is there a village nearby?
I don't know.
Ulyana replied, breathing heavily. She hadn't managed to open the trapdoor. I started thinking. There was surely a possibility that Shurik might be there. I didn't know much about this world, after all. Actually, I knew nothing. Why should the local residents act according to my logic? Could it be that he tried to escape down there, running away from wolves? Are there any wolves, though? Maybe owls. Okay, let's check it out. Maybe a whole bunch of rats. I strained my muscles and managed to open the trapdoor. It crashed loudly on the cracked wooden floor, and at the same moment Ulyana leaned over the hatchway, lighting up the basement with the flashlight.
It's some sort of tunnel.
A tunnel? I pulled her back by the scruff of the neck and looked in there myself.
Hey!
Curiosity killed the cat. There was indeed a long tunnel running into the darkness. It looked like a dungeon from a computer game. There wasn't any danger at first sight. No waist-deep water, no rats, no zombies. Okay, let's climb down there to look, but be careful.
Roger that.
Ulyana beamed. It was really dark down there. The flashlight did little to help. It dimly illuminated concrete walls, lamps hanging from the ceiling entangled in wires, and garbage abundantly covering the floor. I really cannot tell, how tall is Ulyana supposed to be? She seems so tiny, but, is also tall at the same time. Constantly fluctuating. We slowly moved forward. I heard Ulyana's hand. I held Ulyana's hand, fearing she would run ahead of me. Probably I was a bit worried about myself too, not wanting to be alone in this thick darkness. Maybe we should go back. Sure couldn't have gone so far.
What if he had a flashlight?
Well, even with a flashlight, what could he be doing down here?
I don't know. Are you interested in what lies ahead?
Not a bit. I'm more interested in going to sleep. I didn't finish the sentence. A massive metal door suddenly appeared before us as if from thin air. I instantly noticed a biohazard sign. A bomb shelter? I realized.
Probably.
Have you heard anything about it?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Does it? What if there's radiation?
What radiation? Where from?
Yeah, you're right. I took hold of the door's wheel and tried to move it. It yielded to my surprise and groaned like a dying dinosaur. The door opened at last and Ulyana ran in as soon as it did. Hey! Dead bodies. Behind the door was probably the main shelter room. There were several beds next to me, some devices near the farthest wall, lockers. Fluorescent lamps on the ceiling brightly illuminated the room. Where does the electricity come from? Are the backup generators still working? I turned off the flashlight to save the battery. Ulyana started to rummage in the lockers at once, taking out gas masks, packages, and various tools. Don't you have anything better to do?
No.
She looked at me with displeasure. Yeah, stop being boring, Semyon. I sat on the neatly made bed and looked around one more time. Right across the room from me was a door, the same as the one we entered. Could Shurik have gone through there, if he was here at all? And why?
Why the long face?
Just tired. I honestly confessed.
Then rest for a while. And I'm definitely not going to be here when you wake up.
Ulyana jumped at me and pushed me in the chest. I reeled back in surprise and hit my head against the wall, knocked out. Bye. What are you doing? I grabbed her arms and pulled her towards me. What are you doing to this child, Semyon? She lost her balance and fell next to me. Ouch! You started this. Doesn't mean you have to be so childish and do the same to her. Gonna end up knocking each other out. Ulyana stuck out her tongue and sat up. Well, what's next?
There, the other door.
Oh, sure. Shurik predicted a nuclear war and decided to hide beforehand, did he?
Maybe he did.
Maybe. This shelter's too close to the surface. It could protect against the radiation, but if the bombs fell close enough...
You're so serious about these matters. Ain't got no imagination.
She smirked. I really didn't know when to be serious with her and when to joke. It seems like the age difference between us really matters here. How big is it? 10 years? More? Oh, I knew you were old. So old. I sighed and stood up from the bed. Okay, let's try. But the door was less compliant than the first one. The bolts creaked, but the wheel didn't budge a centimeter. Seems jammed.
Let me.
She just tears it from its hinges. It's like, oh my god, she's way stronger than I thought. Ulyana rushed at the door with a crowbar she got who knows where and applied herself to it with all of her unimpressive weight. I was wondering what that noise was. I didn't realize it was a firework. They gave us a chance. I helped her and soon the door fell to the floor with a bang. The hinges turned out to be completely rusted. Seems that not everything was made to last back then. Behind the door there was a tunnel almost the same as the one we had come through. Don't do anything stupid. I took Ulyana by the hand and stepped out of the room. It was another endless tunnel. The ceiling seemed to become lower, even though I logically realized that it did not change. Ulyana didn't seem to be bothered at all, though. She was humming as she walked. It's because she's so tiny. Of course she doesn't notice. It annoyed me more and more. Looks like you're having fun.
Of course I am, aren't you?
No. I don't see any reason to have fun. We should find Shurik quickly and get out of here so I could sleep. 'Cause I'm an old man.
He may not be here at all.
Then why the hell?
Look.
Ulyana snatched the flashlight from my hand. There was a huge hole in the ground a couple of meters in front of us.
He may be down there.
She walked to the edge and leaned.
Some rails.
It looks like there was a mine under this tunnel. The depth of the hole was low enough to let us climb out of it, so I knew that Ulyana would say next. No, what would Ulyana say? I've just accepted that I'll never be able to read properly whenever I play this game.
Come on.
I wanted to object, but she had jumped down, leaving me in complete darkness. Hey! I had to follow. I don't know what they dug for here, but the mine had been abandoned for a long time. The planks had become damp, the rails were rusted, earth broke through the walls in some places. The whole tunnel leading into the unknown was suspicious. It looked like it was about to collapse and bury us.
Come on.
Ulyana desperately pulled on my arm. Where to? Why? What would Shurik be doing here?
What if...
She made a serious face.
What if he's sitting here somewhere, injured and waiting for help, and we just turn around and go, leaving him to die?
I estimated the height of the ceiling one more time and walked slowly after the restless Ulyana. Soon we reached a fork.
Let's go to the right.
Wait! I grabbed her arm.
What's the matter?
What if it's a dead end, or worse than a dead end, a whole labyrinth?
Well,
she thought.
Then let's mark the starting point.
Ulyana picked up a large stone from the ground and scratched a cross on one of the beams that supported the ceiling. Do you think that will help?
It will.
Probably I'll have to choose where to go. I just can't leave it to the little girl. At last we left a tunnel and found ourselves in a hall with a high ceiling. I thought it could hardly be called a hall. They must have used to mine something here. Coal, probably, or maybe gold. The walls had been cut by pickaxes or pneumatic drills. This place was pitch black, so our only salvation was a flashlight. If it breaks, it's unlikely we'll ever get out. By its light, I noticed a red piece of cloth in the corner. It was a pioneer neckerchief. Shurik was obviously here somewhere. Shurik! Shurik!
Shurik!
Only our echoes answered back. I hope he's okay.
Don't worry, we'll find him.
But where could he have gone? There was no other exit from this room. It's possible that there are other places in this tunnel that we haven't visited. Seems like we still have to keep looking for him. At last, the ray of the flashlight revealed an old wooden door in the darkness.
Here we are.
Where?
Somewhere, I don't know.
But she was right about something. At least we've gotten out of the labyrinth. After all these turns and forks, I wasn't sure that we'd ever make it back, but on the other hand, why wouldn't this mine have any exits? Ulyana opened the door and stared into the darkness. So you won't go first as usual?
Well...
Okay. I stepped over the threshold. A small room was beyond the door, maybe a storage room for the bomb shelter.
There were bottles and cigarette stubs, which means that somebody had been here before us. It wasn't an encouraging fact by itself, but now I was certain that there was another exit from the mine, since they couldn't have come the same way as we did. The ray of light moved around the room, examining every corner. Suddenly it lit up a human figure. Whoa. It was Shurik huddling up against one of the walls. Hey, there you are. We've been looking for you all night, and you... It seemed he hadn't even noticed us, just sitting and mumbling something. Shurik? Who's that? What do you mean, who? Your rescue team? Get up and let's go. I won't go anywhere with you, he mumbled. You'll lead me around these tunnels again. I know. I won't go anywhere. I'll stay right here. You won't get me. Stop with your nonsense. It looks like he's gone insane. No. You won't trick me this time. Stop it already.
You're scaring me.
I took a few steps towards Shurik, but he jumped up at once and waved a metal rod. Don't come near me. Leave me alone. Calm down, it's me, Semyon. Don't you recognize me? Semyon? No, you're not Semyon. I noticed that Ulyana, who was standing next to me, had disappeared somewhere. Oh wow, thanks. You're not Semyon, and I'm going to. In the trembling light, Shurik's hand appeared for a moment, wielding the metal rod. I covered my head instinctively. Nothing. When I opened my eyes, he had disappeared. Ulyana stood next to me and giggled, holding the metal rod.
Just like a scout.
Yeah, a scout. Now how'd you do that without him hearing? From somewhere off, the devilish laughter of Shurik was heard. Didn't even hear, any sort of scuffle.
He ran away.
Screw him. I don't care if he dies here. I spat on the floor and leaned against the wall. Stupid Shurik. If it hadn't been for Ulyana. Man, I can't believe I got saved by a little girl. So lame. I wasn't prepared for that. Shurik might have killed me, but he could have Shurik might not have killed me, but he could have seriously injured me. To be left lying here injured would be equivalent to death. We don't even know when help will arrive. Or if it ever would. And would they be able to find me in this labyrinth? It's not that much of a labyrinth. All you have to do is keep going left. They'll find you. Eventually, maybe, if Ulyana says anything. Just don't rely on if Olga realizes you're missing. She's not gonna find you at all. Why the hell did I agree to come here? Indulging that girl.
You look like you're going to kill somebody.
If a good candidate presents itself. Ulyana shuddered. No, not you. It might be nice to spank you, but there's no reason to kill you. Excuse me? She smirked. Yet.
Oh, you.
Okay. It is definitely time to get out of here. They can send their special forces, rescue teams, ghostbusters, whatever tomorrow. I don't care.
Will we go back?
I looked around the room once again and noticed a door to my left. Wow. The door was just like in the bomb shelter. A massive metal one. I pulled the wheel a couple times, but it just creaked dully. If only I had that crowbar.
It doesn't work?
Ulyana asked in a depressed voice. No. Actually, I didn't have any strength left. In another situation, I could strain myself, ask Ulyana to help, look for something to use as a lever. But now I just wanted to get out of this mine. I wanted to hope that there was a path at least resistance for us to take. Of least resistance.
And that meant hoping that I remembered the way through the labyrinth. Let's go back.
Okay.
She smiled and took my hand. We walked even slower on the way back through the labyrinth. Stones scattered under our feet, water dripped from the ceiling onto our heads, feeling like drops of molten tin. Ulyana quieted down and followed me in silence. Something happened?
What do you mean?
It's strange for you to be quiet for more than a minute.
No, everything's alright.
But something was wrong for sure. One fork after another. A minute ago I was certain that at the next corner I would see the cross Ulyana had scratched before. I was wrong. My faith in my ability to guide us was melting away with each second. Well, whatever. I decided to distract myself with conversation.
It's alright, it's just...
What?
It all went wrong with Shurik, and now we're stuck here.
You saved my life, you should be proud of yourself. I tried to encourage her, but Ulyana didn't seem to get it.
But if I hadn't taken his metal rod away, he might have stayed.
Whether he'd stayed or not, what's the difference now? We'd still have to get out of here, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but...
Everything's alright. That cycle will find a way out for sure. I really was sure about that. Finally, we came to a long tunnel on the wall of which was the cross. Ulyana cheered up a bit, and we almost ran the rest of the way to the surface. You see? The full moon shined above us again, and the building of the old camp didn't look nearly so ominous as before. Because being in the tunnels was way scarier. Especially in comparison to the bomb shelter in the catacombs.
That was cool, wasn't it?
It looked like Ulyana's gotten her usual cheerfulness back. I'm not too sure about cool, but I'm glad we got out.
So shall we go and look for Shurik?
What? I was speechless for a moment, unable to even finish the sentence. Are you crazy? We already found him. Tomorrow, Olga, Demetrina, and the police can go down there and catch that caveman. Turn tests on him.
Well...
No wells. Back to the camp, to sleep. I walked rapidly from that dreadful place, ignoring the furious Ulyana. Ulyana? Within 10 minutes, we were already back to the square. Okay, that's all for today. Dismiss, soldier. Ulyana saluted and was about to leave when she suddenly yelled and started to excitedly wave her hands.
Look, look!
I turned to the benches and saw Shurik lying on one of them. Oh my. It was really hard to wake him up, as if the caveman had decided to sleep for a year beforehand. What? Where am I? He mumbled in his sleep. Do you want to explain yourself now? Explain what?
We've been looking for you all night, and you jumped at Semyon with a metal rod and then ran away.
Ulyana jumped around the bench, ready to explode. What happened? And why am I here? Shurik seemed to come to his senses. See, some of the art, it almost looks like she's almost the size of Semyon. But then you see her next to Shurik, and it's just like... What? Is Semyon just also small too? Oh, do be so kind as to explain that. How did you get out of the mine? Why did you go there in the first place? Everything's step by step. What mine? There was such sincere surprise in his eyes that I started to doubt. He really might not remember anything. Where have you been for the last 12 hours? I don't know. Shurik sat and his face frowned with the effort of thinking. I went to the old camp in the morning. People say there are some old equipment there, for parts for the robot, and... He stared at us in confusion. And that's it. So you don't remember? I don't. Okay. I sat next to him and leaned back on the bench. The stars shone brightly in the sky. They remember everything. Even what Shurik was doing in the bomb shelter. Post-traumatic shock.
Poster what?
Such symptoms are experienced by people after heavy stress. After a disaster, for example. Shurik remarked with a smart look on his face. You should sleep now. Yes, but... We'll speak tomorrow. Shurik looked at me for some time, but then he got up and slowly walked to his cabin without a word.
So, what is it with him?
He probably forgot everything that happened in the mine.
He's lying.
Look, why would he have to lie?
So he wouldn't have to answer for when he tried to attack you with a metal rod?
She said uncertainly. Doesn't look like it, and doesn't matter now.
It does. We must find out. The criminal must be punished.
If that rule was applied to you, you would have been placed under house arrest a long time ago. Or worse.
What does that have to do with this? I don't leap at people with a rod.
It wasn't intentional.
He's lying.
He may be lying. I was really exhausted after today, especially this night, and I really didn't care whether Shurik was telling the truth or just pretending to. It really looks like he doesn't remember anything. I'm going to sleep.
Then...
Ulyana jumped up and stood on her tiptoes.
Good night.
You too. I don't know, seemed like there was something special in the expression of her face that moment. I didn't care. The camp leader had been waiting for me at home. I thought you wouldn't come back. I would have expected any reaction from Olga Dmitrievna except that one. Since you went with Ulyana, aren't you supposed to worry about us? Why should I? You're okay. Oh, okay then. I had neither the strength nor the will to argue with the leader or to find out the reason for her behavior. I took my clothes off and crawled under the blanket. It's all too much for a single person. Looking for Shurik in the dungeons was a job for search and rescue professionals. Doing it with Ulyana for certified madmen. But it was, in a way, fun. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. Hey, not so fast. She stopped and turned to me. I'm not here to kill you. My words sounded like a joke, but Alyssa flinched. Who told the camp leader that Ulyana came to me at night? I don't know. She pleaded piteously. We discussed it this morning, didn't we? She said nothing but continued to look at me with fear in her eyes. And most importantly, what's the purpose of telling 1,000 lies? I really don't know what you're talking about. Her eyes filled with tears. Suddenly I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. What if she isn't guilty? And why did I immediately think of her? Anyone else could easily have seen us at night. You never know. Even Ulyana herself could tell anyone. Are you sure? I asked harshly. Yes. I thought for a second, and this time was just enough for Alyssa to escape. Now the only true solution is to talk to Olga Dmitrievna again. It's all my fault. Nobody's accusing you of anything, said Slavia without looking at me. At least there's one sensible person among all present here. Yet, she added under her breath. What?
Everything was exactly as he told you.
Ulyana joined the conversation.
We were just watching a film and then felt sleepy. It was so late.
We didn't think anything.
Just a stupid situation. Come on, enough. It's not like I have got much to pack. Indeed, it was the truth.
Care to help me then?
Okay, sure, why not? She started to pull her clothes out from the cabinets and stack them on her bed. Watch it. You'll mess up everything.
It's okay, I'll wash them at home.
T-shirts, skirts, shorts, dresses, shoes, trainers, underwear. The pile of clothes was growing and growing. You really brought all this stuff here all on your own? Fireworks. It's like almost 10. What is going on? Almost 10. It's the beginning of December. You really brought all this stuff here on your own? I considered Ulyana's constitution. It was hard to believe.
Yes, of course.
She laughed.
Come on, give me a hand.
We've started to pack up the clothes into a big bag. I tried to pack things carefully at first, but after realizing that it's pointless, resorted to just stuffing everything in to make it all fit. At last there were no more clothes on the bed, and we even somehow managed to zip up the bag.
So that's it?
Yeah. I looked at the clock. It was about 40 minutes till the departure time.
You know, it was fun.
Meaning?
Well, the last week was fun.
Yeah. I said absent-mindedly.
Don't you think so?
Why?
It sounded sort of insincere to me.
Well, I must admit that I'm not exactly walking on air, yeah?
But what didn't you like?
It's not like I can spit out everything at once. You see, a few moments were, how can I put it, a little unexpected.
Bah, you're so boring,
said Ulyana and turned away from me. Well, what did you expect from me?
You sound like you've got absolutely nothing to remember later.
Yeah, there's sure plenty to remember. I gleamed.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
She looked closely at me. That made me a bit uncomfortable. What now?
And me? Will you remember me?
No. Sure I will. Everyone.
Everyone?
And you most of all. 'Cause you're a little frickin' troublemaker. I saluted, springing up to attention with my hand over my heart.
That's better.
However, do I really have something to remember about her? Can I really remember anything about her? I don't think so. I just lied to make her feel better. Yeah, we had a lot of adventures, but who's Ulyana for me? Just a nosy kid from another reality. On second thoughts, do I really care that much about my situation now? From the very first moment I appeared here, everything changed tremendously, so right now I was just curious what's going to happen next. Sure, the unknown's not the most pleasant perspective, but I must admit that it's a breathtaking one. Whether I'll return to my world or not is not up to me anymore. It means that I don't really have any choice. I have to adapt to the local living conditions. And one of these conditions was sitting right in front of me, smiling broadly. You know, you're not as silly as I first thought.
Why do you think I'm silly in the first place?
She said in an offended tone. Just kidding.
You and your jokes.
Alright, it's time.
Let's go.
Ulyana said happily and pointed at the bag. Yeah. I shouldered her belongings. The weight almost made me bend in half. I was thankful for the fact that the bus stop was just a few 100 meters away. Keep accidentally leaning on my not really a table. I shoved her stuff onto the bus and then hurried to get my own humble luggage. After some time, all the pioneers were here. Everyone is here? Began Olga Dmitrievna. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you've spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Semyon. I also hope you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something, and found new friends. Just
Come back next year. The camp leader turned away. It seemed she was trying to hold back her tears. I wasn't expecting her to get so emotional, but I completely agreed with everything she said. Perhaps it was the first time that her words haven't just passed by my ears. I don't like that. It looks like Alyssa's staring at us. She's just looking directly into the camera. Soon enough, everyone boarded the bus. I took the last seat next to Ulyana. The first row was taken by Slavia and Xenia, then a little closer to us, Lena, Miku, Electronic, and Shurik were playing cards. Alyssa slouched in her seat alone 2 rows from us. There was no partner for her. Turned out a bit embarrassing for your neighbor.
It's fine. You helped me get ready and brought my stuff here.
I looked at her closely. Seems this little demon had changed her attitude towards me in a radical way. Could it be that I'm a friend to her? An odd word that seemed to have lost its meaning for me ages ago. I can't recall any of my acquaintances when I still had them, who I could call friends. Thought you had friends. Maybe even back when I was at school. And now someone considers me a friend. I thought you had friends, but you were just distant. Anyway, what does it all mean to me? I always felt more comfortable thinking about abstract stuff, distant perspectives, and global matters than of simple, ordinary issues. And indeed, during all of the time I've spent in this camp, I've managed to become close friends with Ulyana. She awakened these long-forgotten feelings in me, even though it didn't feel like a friendship was blooming because there was too many, questionable things. It just felt like everything just felt too questionable and less like you're actually making friends. It definitely could have been written a lot differently than it was, especially the beginning, which I very highly disapprove of, and that could have just been omitted, entirely. That had no reason being here. She awakened these long-forgotten feelings in me, because this is what it means to be buddies or friends. I smiled and tousled her hair gently.
And what's that for?
She puffed her lips. Just because.
Pervert. Will you marry me when I grow up?
No. Absolutely not. Sure. Cross my fingers. This promise is not real.
I'll hold you to that.
Okie dokie.
Let's go join them at cards.
You're talking about friendship, and then all of a sudden you follow it up with, hey, you gonna marry me? Why not? We gathered around the suitcase that was being used as a table. Soon Alyssa joined us. I was laughing a lot, cracking jokes, and just enjoying being in a state one usually calls happiness. A simple happiness here and now. Right now, this bunch of pioneers that I've managed to befriend in this short week were a million times more important to me than finding out how I came to this world and how to get out of here. In the end, should I even bother trying to get back? It was getting dark. The game was long over and the pioneers had returned to their seats. I had no idea how long would it take to get to the district center, but it seemed like an eternity. From beyond the bus windows, only pitch darkness was looking back at me, almost consuming the entire world, compressing to only the size of the Icarus cabin. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I was enjoying the moment. It seems that this reality is completely normal. And does it really matter how I got here if things turn out this great? I became another person and met new friends. I actually have friends now.
What are you thinking about?
About life.
And how's it going?
Just awesome. Ulyana laughed quietly. I don't have a place to return to, so I can choose any life path I want. I will become the greatest hobo that ever lived. Yes, we'll part ways soon, and I'll probably never see most of them again. But we'll stay friends forever. Even with those people that I've
no idea who they are. A pleasant warmth flowed through my body. I felt like a kid again. Ulyana put her head on my shoulder and quickly fell asleep. Sometimes you may feel tired not only because of the hard work or sad feelings, but also because of fun, joy, and happiness. You may probably even want to continue but have no energy to, with your soul demanding time to rest and your body asking for calm. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. The bell rang. My classmate stood up, said his goodbyes, and left. I started packing my exercise books and textbooks into my backpack when I suddenly heard someone's voice in front of me.
Excuse me, is this the 34th lecture hall?
There's a sign on the door.
No, there's not.
The girl's voice sounded offended. Someone must have removed it.
So is it the 34th?
Yeah. At last I closed the backpack and raised my head, intending to stand up. The girl looked terribly familiar. Haven't we...
Yes, I thought the same.
She looked very surprised. But I don't remember where I could have met you.
Neither do I.
What year are you in?
First year.
Oh, still pretty much green. The girl smiled.
Everything is still ahead of me.
As if I'm already past everything.
And what about you?
Fourth.
So is it difficult to study?
For the first year it is.
I knew it,
she said in an upset manner. But it gets easier with time. It's always easier when you get used to it.
Sometimes I'm too lazy to do things.
Yeah, that also happens.
Do you still have any stuff from the first year? If you share it, it'll be easier for me to prepare for examinations.
Obviously I had nothing. My first year was finished a long time ago. But I suddenly felt a strong desire to ask for her phone number, so I lied. Yeah, maybe. But I'll have to check.
That's great.
We exchanged our telephone numbers. My name is Semyon. What should I call you?
Ulyana.
And then I realized who this girl reminded me of. Oh my god! Exactly. She's Ulyana, just around 5 years older. For a moment I was lost for words.
What? It's an ordinary name. That was Lenin's name.
Lenin? She said, pouting. No, just... Have you ever been to a pioneer camp?
When I was a kid. Why are you asking?
In the blink of an eye, all the events that happened in Semyon flashed in front of my eyes. So it wasn't a dream.
Although they were just summer camps, not pioneer ones.
Ulyana added. So you weren't wearing a uniform?
The one with the red neckerchief? Of course not. Fashion police alert.
She laughed loudly.
But why are you asking?
I was about to tell her everything, but then realized that she'll just consider me a psycho. After all, this girl was much older than the Ulyana I remembered. Maybe she just looks like her. I had a dream. And I think I saw you there. Ah, lame! Boo! A kind of deja vu.
Deja what?
It's when one sees something for the first time but believes that he has seen it before. How does she not know deja vu?
Well, now that you mention it.
Her face became serious.
I think I've seen you somewhere as well. Definitely. Maybe it's that thing you just said.
An interesting coincidence, don't you think?
I don't know. Anyway, I'll give you a call. See ya.
She laughed and ran out of the room. Appearance, behavior, way of talking, she's definitely that exact Ulyana. So does that mean the dream is coming true? I can't help but enjoy it. And above all, I'll see this forever cheerful girl again for sure. Scrunches face up in disapproval.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. Alright, that was Ulyana's route. Compared to the routes that we've been through, I'm gonna have to say that Ulyana's route is the weakest link, because while Alyssa's and Lena's actually had like some sort of relationship thing going, Ulyana is, one, too young, and two, it's very like questionable. Semyon, like, I don't know what was going on there. Like, it seemed as if, like, at the end, when they were on the bus, it seemed as if this was gonna go the friendship route. And they had mentioned that it's supposed to be about friendship, but, like, that's not the feeling that it gave off. It just gave off very, like, this right here, that's the feeling it was giving off, rather than actual friendship. And I've seen various media do friendships with, an older character and a younger character, and it can happen. And despite the fact that this visual novel is a romance-based visual novel, I don't mind if you have a friendship route, like no romance at all. But this Ulyana's route was not the way to do it. The beginning of it didn't need to happen, and then all of these weird like feelings about it didn't really need to happen either. You could have wrote the, like, does she think of me? Like, does she have a crush on me or something? Like, you could have done that kind of way, but you made it so sketch. It didn't need to be sketch. And then you get to the end on the bus where you think, like, okay, this was about friendship. But then you immediately follow it up with, hey, you're marry me when I get older? Yeah, definitely. And then you get to the end where they're definitely gonna be romance. There's gonna definitely be romance between them. Because she's older and in college or whatever, but she's only like 19 and Semyon's still like old as dirt. So, in my opinion, Ulyana's route, if remaining this way, did not need to be in here. If you wanted to have Ulyana in here, then it could have been written a lot differently. Still think it's weird though that Ulyana's route was in this game, considering. I'm just glad that it didn't go beyond anything, because then I would have been very disappointed and that would have taken a lot more points off. because of, everything that happened, I wasn't really that into Ulyana's route compared to the other two, where I had like some interest in it. Like with Alyssa, I wanted to know how it goes, because she's angry and I don't know what her problem is. Well, we found out her problem, and it was with Lena, but we didn't know specifics of her problem. I was interested in Lena because she was related to Alyssa, and then it became kind of a bummer, not bummer, but like a disappointment, because her explanation was just, I hate that bitch, and that was it. There was no actual explanation, no motive to why, which would have been more interesting. Like in real life, yeah, you could hate someone, but this is a game, and you kind of want to put in a little bit more information. Since I don't know anybody else's story, because we haven't been through their routes yet, I don't have anything else to compare it to, and I just keep comparing it between Alyssa and Lena, who sometimes I get confused with, because they are intertwine. Because of the choices of scenes, I think it definitely could have been more playful, because it very much just always comes off as Semyon doesn't want to be there and he doesn't like it there, and so it's kind of weird how their friendship develops. It could have been, done a little better. Yeah, so Ulyana's route was concerning and confusing at times with the portrayal. Definitely could have been not the way it did. It just should have stuck to just being about friendship. That's it. That's all you could have done. Just should have stuck to friendship. Like, if you were gonna have a friendship route, then you could have also done completely amazing with, like, trying to get bro points with Electronic and Shurik. Like, you could have maybe done Shurik and did it sort of like built more upon like what the heck happened in the mines. Like, you're trying to find your bro, and this is how you get friendship, and maybe your friendship is way better with Shurik than Shurik with Electronic, and you're just like, I just stole your boy. What you gonna do about it, Electronic? But yeah, I don't know what else to say about Ulyana. About Ulyana's route. I guess I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're gonna be moving on to Slavia, and I believe she's the last of the main people. Yeah, so Slavia should be the last of the main girls, and after we do Slavia, we're moving on to Miku and our mystery girl. Anyway, I hope you folks have a good day and a good night.